In one of the accounts detailing Jesus' birth, there are three categories of people. The wise men saw a sign in the east that a king had been born and he was in Bethlehem, Judea. They came there and then they asked, where is the king? We want to worship him. So they had an understanding that something had changed in the atmosphere and they decided to take an action and go for it. The second category of people are the chief priests and the scribes. Those ones had so much knowledge about the fact that, there is a king that is supposed to be born. They knew the prophecy. They knew the theory around the birth of the king. But guess what they did not have? They didn't have an understanding that that prophecy and that promise was going to be fulfilled at that point in time. So they didn't even understand that the seasons had changed. The third category is Herod. King Herod had neither knowledge nor discernment of the season that they were in. But guess what? He had the worst intention to kill that promise. We can belong to any of the three categories. We could be Herod that is trying to sabotage God's promise, knowingly or unknowingly, just because we're trying to protect something that means much more to us. We could be the chief priests and the scribes that are working so hard to get so much knowledge, but don't even have an understanding that the fulfillment of the knowledge and the prophecy is here and now. The Bible calls it learning, but never coming to the knowledge of the truth. And we could be the wise men that understand that there is a shift in the atmosphere and there's something that I need to do to take an action. And as I'm going along, I'll probably find the knowledge that will lead me to the promise. You know what interests me about that story again? Is that the sign that led the three wise men from the east to Bethlehem, Judea, was the sign that eventually led them to the specific house that Jesus and Mary were. The star led them to the house. He literally was on top of the house and stopped there. So the knowledge that the chief priests and the scribes had was not even enough to contextualize and be specific on that promise. And so that's to tell us that sometimes the people that have discernment move faster and farther just based on discernment. And sometimes we getting all this knowledge and reading all these promises and translations and the Greek version and everything is just knowledge, but not enough to get us to the specific promise. There is a place for specifying and contextualizing God's promise in a way that can be applicable. Knowledge is great. It enriches our walk with Christ. It improves an understanding of the faith that we proclaim. But as we are learning, let's leave room for the divine and the supernatural to give us discernment into how we can properly interpret what we're learning. Or else, learning without discernment is ineffective, is useless. No shade. I'm just telling you something to think about.